The rule is simple. We start looking at the highest green candle. So that's this one. And then we check if we see a red candle closing below the lowest point of the highest green candle. So that's this point over here. The next candle is a green candle again. And this green candle is higher than the previous one, than this one. So from this candle, we start looking for a red candle closing below the lowest point of this green candle. So that's the end of this wick. The next candle is this red candle, but this red candle is not closing below the highest green candle. So we just wait. Then we have this green candle, and this green candle is higher than the previous highest green candle, this one. So from this candle on, we start looking for a red candle closing below the lowest point of this green candle. First we have this red candle, but this one is not closing below the highest green candle. Then we have the next one, and this candle is closing below the highest green candle, so below this candle. As soon as we see this in an uptrend, we know that the highest green candle is the high. We can mark this as the high. And we know by now that this is a valid retracement. So we wait for price to break this high and create a higher high. So price is moving up again. First we have this green candle, and this green candle has a wick above the high. This wick is not a valid break. For a break of this high, we need to see a candle closing above this high. So the next one is this red one, it stays below, and then we have this green candle. And this green candle is closing above the high. So with this candle closing above this high, we know that the lowest point in between is the low. So this low is higher than the previous low. That makes this one a higher low. Now that we have a close above the high, we can expect price to retrace back into this area from the high that got broken by this candle to the higher low. So price is going up further, coming down and retracing back to the 50%, and then it's going up again. But why is it important that this higher low is a valid higher low and this is a valid high? Let's remove this area and let's assume that this wick was a bit lower over here, and we look again. So this was the highest green candle. Then this red one didn't close below this highest green candle. Now this is the highest green candle and the low is over here. And you can see that if we draw a line from the lowest point of the highest green candle to the right, that we don't have a body close below this low. Price continues to go up, breaks this high, but this high is not a valid high because we have no red candle closing below the highest green candle. And without this being a high, and this is not a higher low, we also don't expect this area to be magnetic. So if price is coming down into this area, we don't expect really a reaction from it. So price can easily break through it and close lower. But let's say this wick was higher. We had a close below the highest green candle. This was the high. And we created a higher low by closing above this high. So that's important. We need to close above this high to create this higher low. Because as long as we don't close above, price could easily go lower and create a higher low over here and then start moving up. So we wait for a body close above the high. Now we have our higher low and we can draw our magnetic zone. And we expect price to retrace back into the area, and we prefer to at least 50%. So price retraced to the 50%. Now we can change it into a red area. Settings, extend, uncheck. This area is done for now. Price is going up again. And now it's important to see if this price movement here created a new magnetic area for price to retrace into. So let's follow the price. So we have this green candle, it's closing above the high. Then we have this red candle, but this green candle is not the highest green candle so far. At this point, this is the highest green candle. So after we closed above the high, we start looking at the lowest point of this green candle. We have this red candle, it's not closing below. Then we have this green candle, and this green candle is higher than the previous highest candle. So from this point we start looking at the lowest point of this green candle. So we move this line and we wait for a red candle closing below this lowest point, because only if we see that, we know that this can become a higher high and this will be a higher low. We have another green candle, this one. This wick goes higher than this one. So from this point on, we start looking at this candle. The lowest point is the low of that wick. So that's over here. Then there's the next candle, and this green candle is higher than the highest candle so far. So again, we start looking at the lowest point from this candle. So that means we have to move this line a little bit down to the end of this wick. And now we see price turning around. Let's remove a few candles. So at this point, this was the highest candle. And we need to see a body close, a red candle with a body close below the lowest point. So right now we have this red candle with a wick below it. Then there's this red candle, but this one is closing at the low. So at this point, this is not a higher high yet. And then we see this big red candle down. This candle is retracing into this zone, retracing to the 50%. And by doing so, it's removing the magnetic function of this area. But another important thing is that this area is closing below the highest green candle so far. So that means we have a new higher high. That's the highest point over here. And we can call this a higher high. So price retraced back into this area. And at this point, we are looking for two things. So that means we have the higher high over here. We can draw the break line. So a break to the upside. Let's remove this line. And another option is that price is closing below the last low, this one. And that we will see a shift to the downside. And like I said before, price can do anything it wants in between the break line and the shift line. And also right now, this is only a higher low if we have a body close above the higher high. So price is coming up again. We have this high, it's wicking above the high, above the higher high. Then we have this red candle. it's a red candle, so that means it's opening above the high, but it's closing below. And then there comes this green candle, and this green candle is closing above the higher high. So that means that we have officially a new higher low, and that's the low over here. And we also have a new retracement area. So we had this higher high, and we had a body close above. So we pull the Fibonacci from this higher high to this lower low. Retracement area. Price is coming down a little bit, but not touching the area. Going up. Big move down. The wick is not touching the 30%. So that means the area is still fully magnetic. Price going up, coming down again. And here with this wick, it's touching the 50%. And magnetic function is gone. So we can change this area. Change the color into red. Uncheck extend lines right. Okay. So price retraced back into the area and we wait. So we can move this line, the shift line, to the new higher low. This is our higher low. And we can draw the break line to the upside to the highest point here. Break to the upside. This highest point is the higher high. Because it's validated by this red candle. So again, we had a close above the higher high. Price came down, came up. This was the highest candle. No red candle closing below. This was the highest green candle. Then we had this green candle with a long wick. And this red candle closed below the highest green candle. So at this point, we created a higher high. And we are waiting for the pullback into this area. So price reached this area and now we wait for price to close below the shift line and shift from an uptrend into a downtrend. Or we close above the break line and we continue the uptrend. Now we can see the price is reaching the shift line. So we might see a shift from an uptrend to a downtrend. But before it's confirmed, we need to see a body close below this higher low. So this first candle, this one is wicking below it. So no confirmation yet. And the second one, this red one, is closing below the higher low. Now we have our confirmation that we can expect price to shift into a downtrend. But before we continue further down, we would like to see price retrace back into the area. And that area is this higher low that got broken here to this higher high over here. So by closing below this higher low, we also created a lower low. But it was not only the close below the higher low. We also need to see in a downtrend a green candle closing above the lowest red candle. So this is the lowest red candle in this downtrend. And we are waiting for a green candle to close above the highest point of this red candle. As long as we don't see this close above this lowest red candle, we don't have a confirmation, a full confirmation that this is a new lower low. So we wait. This is still the lowest red candle, and then there comes this green candle. And this green candle is closing above the lowest red candle, so above the highest point of this lowest red candle. We also had this red candle, but this one was opening above and closing below. So this green candle is closing above the lowest red candle, and this confirms the lower low. So price is going up, retracing into the 50% of this area, and as expected, price is turning around to continue the downtrend. And again, why is it so important to see a valid retracement here with a green candle closing above the highest point of this lowest red candle? And that is because we created a lower high. That's this one over here. Because we closed below this lower low with a body close of this red candle here. And by closing below this lower low, we created a new area, a new retracement area, a magnetic one. So we had this lower low, we have a body close below it, so we pull the Fibonacci from this lower low to this higher high. And this is not a higher high, of course, this is a lower high, because this high is lower than the previous high. So we pull the Fibonacci from this lower low that got broken by this body close to this lower high, and after price closes below it, we expect a retracement back into the 50% and then continuation of the downtrend. And again, if this retracement here was not valid, we would not look for a retracement into this area. So a little recap here. For price to break this high, we need a close above this break line. The same to the downside. To break this low, we need a body close below this break line. And the same for the shift. So when we shifted price action from uptrend into downtrend, this was only confirmed with a body close below this higher low. And for retracement areas in an uptrend, we are looking at the highest green candle. And we need to see a body close below the lowest point of the highest green candle. If we see a body close below, we know we have a valid retracement. And with a valid retracement, we create a retracement area that's magnetic, and we expect price to retrace back into this magnetic area. And to the downside, we close below this higher low. We see a retracement. But for this retracement to be valid and create a new retracement area with a magnetic function, we need to see a green candle closing above the lowest red candle. So that was this one over here. Now let's apply these retracement areas to some real charts and see how it works out there. Now it's time to apply the rules to a real chart and to see if we can find the magnetic retracement areas. I will use the replay function. This is our starting point. So we have a low, a high, and right now with this body close of this red candle below this low, we have a break to the downside. Let's draw it out. We had a low, a high, and we broke this low. Like this. Break to the downside. At this point, over here, we are expecting price to retrace back into this area and continue to the downside. Let's mark the retracement area. Click on Fibonacci retracement. And I pull the Fibonacci from the low that just got broken by this body close up to the high over here. This area is magnetic, so we expect price to go down a little bit and retrace back into the area. And we would like to see price retrace at least to the 50% and then continue the downtrend. We also want to see this new low become a valid low, because only with a valid low we create a new magnetic retracement area. The only way for this new low to become a valid low is if we see a green candle closing above the lowest red candle. Let's remove this and mark the lowest red candle. So right now, this is the lowest red candle. If we want to see a green candle closing above, it means that the green candle needs to close above this line. But that's after we break this low. So even if this green candle would have closed higher than this was no valid low yet, because we had to wait for this candle to close below the low. Let's see what happens. We play the next candle. The new candle is not the lowest low, because you can see that this is the lowest point, and it's not making a new low. So we still look at this candle. Next candle. Same for that one. This candle is going lower, but the opening and the closing price are at the same price level. So that means this is not the lowest red candle. So we still look at this candle. The next. And there it is. So right now this is our lowest red candle. And instead of looking at the highs of this one, we will now keep an eye on the highest point of the lowest red candle. And that's over here. So if we see a green candle closing above this line, we have a valid retracement and we create a lower low. Next candle. This candle is lower, but it's not a red candle, so we still look at this candle. Next. Also a green candle. This one is not going lower. This is not a red candle. And there we go. We have a new lower red candle. So right now this is the lowest red candle. That means if we see price closing above the highest point of the lowest red candle, we have a valid retracement and a new lower low. Let's do the next candle. A big one, and there we go. This was our lowest red candle. We have a green candle closing above the high of this lowest red candle. And that means we have a valid retracement and a new lower low. So this lowest point is the lower low, because this low is lower than the previous one. We can also draw the line from this low to this high to this low. But we are still waiting for a retracement back into this area, and we would like to see the retracements to at least 50%. So that's the retracement, and we now know that this area is no longer magnetic, so we can make it red. I pull this line to the candle that did the retracement, like this, and then settings. I uncheck extend lines to the right, and we change the color into red. There we go. So we now have this situation. We had a low, a high, a lower low, the retracement back into this area, and now we expect price to break this low and continue the downtrend. Let's mark this low. So break to the downside. And another option we have is that price is closing above this last high and creating a shift to the upside. So that would mean that we shift from a downtrend into an uptrend. But we are still in a downtrend, so we expect this lower low to be broken. Price is turning around here, approaching the lower low, but not closing below yet. Still no close. Only wicks so far, so no confirmation. Let's remove this line. And there's the confirmation. So we have a body close below the lower low. And that's a confirmation that we continue the downtrend. And by breaking below the lower low, breaking and closing, we also created a new lower high. And that means that the shift line, to shift the structure from a downtrend into an uptrend, is at this lower high now. So now we have this situation, we had a low, then we had this high, the lower low, the lower high. We broke the last lower low with this candle. So at this point we are expecting a retracement back into the magnetic area and continue the downtrend. Let's mark the area. So this is the lower low that got broken with this body close. So we pull the Fibonacci from this lower low up to the last lower high. Select the template, retracement area. It's important to understand that you can see price already retraced back into the area, but the retracement needs to come after the body close. So after this candle, we are looking for a retracement back into this area. We have this line to the lower high. And we also wait for a lower low to be created here. And therefore we need to see a green candle closing above the lowest red candle. At this point, the lowest red candle is this one over here. So we need to see a green candle closing above this line. So this line is the high of this lowest red candle. And there it is. So at this point, we already established a new lower low. That's this point over here. Price did retrace into the magnetic area, but it didn't reach the 50% yet. So it's still magnetic, but we turn the color into orange. Because if price is moving down now from this point, we can expect this area to stay magnetic, but not as strong as a green area. Let's see the next candle. And there we go. So right now we have a full retracement. I can move this retracement to the candle that did the full retracement. Go to settings, extend lines, uncheck. We change the color into red. Okay. So the retracement for this area is done. I will remove this line. Two options. We are in a downtrend, so we expect price to break this lower low with a break to the downside. Our price is closing above the last lower high, and we shift the trend from a downtrend into an uptrend. Next candle. No body close yet. This is a green candle, so it's opening here and closing inside. So we wait. And there is the candle. This candle is closing, clearly closing below the last lower low. With this close, we created a new lower high. Let's draw this line to the lower low and the lower high. And again, we are in this downtrend. We just broke this lower low. And we expect price to retrace into the magnetic area. So that's this area over here. We mark the area. So this was the lower low. That got broken by this body close. From this lower low to the last lower high. The template retracement area. And we want to see price retracing back into this magnetic area to at least 50%. Turn around and continue the downtrend. We also would like to see a new lower low. So we look at the lowest red candle. This is the lowest red candle right now. And for a valid lower low, we need a green candle closing above the highest point of the lowest red candle, above this line. Let's see what price is doing. This is still the lowest red candle and we haven't seen a close above. So right now this is not a lower low yet. Let's see some more candles. No close. And there's the close. So with the close above the lowest red candle, we just created a new lower low. So from this lower high to this lower low, price is retracing into the area and we reached the 30% line, but we didn't reach the 50% yet. So it's still magnetic, but not as magnetic as it was. So we changed the color to orange. The shift line is moving to the last lower high. So if we close above this shift line, we can expect price to shift into an uptrend. And of course we have the break line to the downside. We are still in a downtrend. Break the downside. Next candle, okay. So with this candle to at least the 50%, the retracement for this area is done. So I select the Fibonacci and I move it to the candle that did retracement. Go to settings, uncheck extend lines right, and I change the color to red. With the retracement done, we expect price to turn around and break the lows. Let's see. We have a wick above the shift line, but for a valid shift into an uptrend, we need to see a body close. So we still wait. And there we go. This little green candle with a body close above the last lower high. This candle tells us that we have a high probability that the downtrend is shifting into an uptrend. If I see a shift like this, I like to remove the last retracement area because that area didn't hold and it makes my chart more clean. So let's draw out again what just happened. We had the downtrend and instead of continuing to the downside, we were closing above the last lower high, this one over here. That's like this. So we had the shift, shift to the upside, and right now we expect price to turn around and retrace back into this new area. Retrace to the 50% and continue the uptrend. This area is from the lower high to the lower low. Let's mark it. I pull the Fibonacci from this lower high that got broken by this candle to the lower low. Retracement area. Because of the shift, we expect price to turn around, retrace back to the 50% at least, and continue the uptrend. And we also like to see a new higher high created, so a high that's higher than the previous high. And for a valid higher high to be created, we are looking at the highest green candle. And we want to see a red candle closing below the highest green candle. After the close, after the body close, above the shift line, we have this green candle. So far, this is the highest green candle. So for a valid higher high, we need a body close below this low. And we can see that the next candle is already closing below. So that means with that red candle, we just created a higher high. And it's a higher high because this high is higher than the previous high. So we can draw this line also from this lower low to the highest point in between the higher high and the lower low. So that's here. And we change this break line because this break line now becomes the shift line, shift to the downside. If we see a body close below the shift line, it means this little uptrend is already shifting into a downtrend again. Let's draw the break line to the upside from here to there. Break upside. We expect price to retrace to at least the 50% of this area and continue the uptrend, or we close below the shift line and we shift into a downtrend. Let's wait. In between this area, in between these two lines, the break and the shift line, again, price can do anything at once. We had a retracement almost to the 50%. Let's see, it's exactly to the 50% because you can see that the 50% line is, if you look at the right, at 5200. And the low of this candle is also at 5200. So the retracement for this area is done. We can change the retracements. Uncheck extend lines right, and I will change it into a red box, red area. Now we wait for a close above the break line to continue the uptrend, or a close below the shift line to shift into a downtrend. There it is, we have a body close above the higher high. That means we just created a higher low. Let's mark it. So the lowest point over here becomes the higher low. And that is because this low is higher than the previous one. We can now move the shift line to the higher low and also draw the line from this higher high to this higher low. And again, let's draw out what just happened. So we had the downtrend. Then we had a close above the lower high, so a close above the shift line. So price was shifting from a downtrend into an uptrend. Price was coming back to our magnetic retracement area. And now it is closing above this high. At this point, we are looking for a retracement back into this area. Let's see. Let's also mark out the retracement area. So we had this higher high. Then we had a body close above the higher high. So we pull the Fibonacci from this higher high to this higher low. template, retracement area. So we expect price to turn around and retrace back into this area, into the 50% at least. And we also like to see a new higher high, and therefore it needs to be a valid retracement. And for a valid retracement in an uptrend, we are looking at the highest green candle. And we want to see a red candle closing below the lowest point of the highest green candle. So with this body close, it was this candle, then we had the next candle. This was the highest green candle. We are printing a new one, and you can see that the open and the close is at the same level. So this is not a green candle. So we are still looking at this green candle, and for a valid retracement, we need to see a close below the lowest point of the highest green candle. So that's over here. Now let's see. That's not a close. This is a real close. And we are retracing back into the 50% of this magnetic area. And by retracing to the 50%, it means the area is no longer magnetic. So we can change it. I click on the area and I move it to the candle that just did the retracement. Now I go to settings, deselect extend lines to the right, and I change the color into red. There we go. Okay. And with the body close below the highest green candle, we also created a new higher high. That's over here. Draw the line from the higher low to the highest point. And we can place another break line. So right now we are waiting for price to close above the break to the upside line. That one. For a continuation of the uptrend, always see a body close below the shift line for a shift into a downtrend. All we do now is just wait for price to close below or close above. And that's the close above the higher high. So that means we just created a new higher low. The lowest point over here. We can move the shift line to the new higher low. The retracement was a valid retracement, so we created a higher high, and with that higher high also a magnetic retracement area. So we pull it from this higher high that just got broken by this big candle, and we pull it until the higher low, the last higher low. I select a retracement area. So now we just wait for price to turn around, come back to the magnetic retracement area, and from there continue the uptrend. We also like to see a new higher high, and therefore in the uptrend we need to see a red candle closing below the highest green candle. The highest green candle is obvious, that's this one. So we need to see a close below. The lowest point of this highest green candle is over here. So we mark that and we wait for the next candle. Let's also draw this line from the higher high to the higher low. Interesting price action here. What we can see is we have this highest green candle, price is coming down. Now it's breaking this candle. But this was no valid retracement because this price movement over here, we didn't close a red candle below the lowest point of the highest green candle. And it's important to follow this rule because if you would see this as a retracement, we could draw a zone from this high to this low. I will change the color this time to purple because this is not a valid magnetic retracement area. And later on in this video you will see how price is reacting to this not valid retracement area. So we have one area open, this one. This area is still magnetic, and we have this invalidated area. We also have a new highest green candle. That's this one. So for a valid retracement, we are looking for a close below the lowest point of the highest green candle. So that's over here. I will remove this line. And with this candle closing below the highest green candle, we just created a new higher high. That's this one, the highest point. And we can also draw a new break line. I will change this a little bit. So this becomes the break to the upside. And this line over here is still the shift line to the downside. So if we close below this line, we shift into a downtrend. If we see a close above this line, so above the higher high, we expect price to continue in an uptrend. Let's see what price is doing here. And this is what I meant with why it's so important to follow the rules. What we can see is that we created a higher high. We still had this magnetic area. Price is creating a valid retracement into this area. And if you would have marked this one, this purple area, as a valid retracement, it would mean that your shift line would have been at this low. And by closing below this low, you could expect price to shift from an uptrend into a downtrend. But it's not a shift line because the rule is simple. We need to see a close below the highest green candle. And this was the highest green candle and we did not have a close below it. So we just wait until this candle, this is the highest green candle. Now we see a close below and now we know we have a higher high and we can expect price to retrace into this area that is still magnetic. Do we expect price to break the shift line and to close below the shift line? No, not really, because we are in an uptrend. So let's remove this area and this line. Like I said, we are in an uptrend and we just retraced back into the area. This area is no longer magnetic. Settings, uncheck and change the color to red. So this area is no longer magnetic and we expect price to turn around and close above the higher high because we are in an uptrend. Let's draw the line from this higher low to this higher high. So what we expect is we had this high over here, then we made this higher low, then we created a higher high. Now we have retraced back into this area and we expect price to continue the uptrend. So let's see. Price is turning around here. And indeed closing above the higher high. So with this close, we also created a new higher low. That's the lowest point over here. We can move the shift line to this higher low. I will draw a line from the higher high to the higher low. This was a valid retracement, so we created a magnetic retracement area from this higher high that got broken with a close above to the last higher low. Template. And now we wait for price to create a new higher high. And for a new higher high, we need a valid retracement. So that means we need to see a red candle closing below the highest green candle. The lowest point of the highest green candle, this one, is over here. For a valid retracement and a new higher high, we need to see a red candle closing below this line. Let's move this one a little bit. And onto the next candle. It's a higher green candle, so we move this line because right now this is the highest green candle. For a valid retracement, we need to close below the low of the highest green candle. There we go. So with the close of this red candle below the lowest point of the highest green candle, we just created a new higher high. That's this highest point. We would like to see price retrace back to at least 50% of this area and turn around to continue the uptrend. It looks like the retracement is already done. Let's draw the break line. So from this high to the right, this is the break to the upside, and we have to shift to the downside. So if price is closing above this line, so above the higher high, it means this was the retracement. So let's see, and yes, it does. Okay, so price reached exactly the 30%. That means this area is still magnetic, but not as strong as it was when it was a green area. So I will mark this area orange and leave it there for future price action. We also have a new higher low over here. We can draw the line from the higher low, this old higher low, to the higher high, to the last higher low. The retracement was valid, so we created a new magnetic area, retracement area. This one is green. And we can move the shift line to the new higher low, the last higher low. And let's see if we can create a new higher high again. And for a higher high, we need to see a red candle closing below the highest green candle. So let's mark the highest green candle, that's this one, and the lowest point is this little wick over here. So we need a red candle closing below this line. And we have a new high green candle, the highest green candle, that's this one over here. So we can move this line. So right now we are looking at a red candle closing below the highest green candle, and that's this one. And another highest green candle, so we move this line. This candle has the open and the close at the same level, so not the highest green candle. We are wicking below the highest green candle, but we are not closing below, so no retracement yet. And now we have a close. With this close below the highest green candle, let's remove the line, we just created a new higher high. We can draw the line. And a new break line. Break to the upside. So we would like to see price to come down, retrace back into this magnetic area, and then close above this higher high to continue the uptrend. Or we close below the shift line and we shift into a downtrend again. Let's extend the break line a little bit. And we have a body close above the higher high. That means we didn't retrace into this area, so this area stays magnetic. We did create a new higher low over here. We move the shift line. And with this higher high over here, we had a new valid retracement. So a magnetic retracement area from the higher high that we just broke with this close to the last higher low. So that's over here. We expect price to turn around, make a valid retracement into this area and continue the uptrend. So after this close, we look at the highest green candle, and for the valid retracement, we need to close below the highest green candle. So right now that's over here. And let's play the next candle. Price is wicking below but not closing below, but we did retrace into this area. So that means this area is no longer magnetic. So I select the retracement area, then I pull the Fibonacci to the candle that did the retracement. So that was this one. Then settings, uncheck this one, change the color into red. So the retracement is done, but we did not create a new higher high yet. So we need a close below the highest green candle for a new higher high to be created. So let's see. Still no close below. Same situation again. We had the highest green candle and you can see the price was not able to close below. We did retrace into this area and now we are closing above this area. So a lot of people now think that this is a new magnetic retracement area. I will make it purple again to make sure that it's clear that this is not a valid retracement area. And we still wait for this valid retracement. So that means this stays the higher low. This is still the higher high. So for a new higher high to be created, we are still looking for a red candle closing below the highest green candle. Let's change this line because we have a new highest green candle and that's this one over here. So if we see a close below the lowest point of the highest green candle, then we have a valid retracement. We have a new highest green candle. So we move the line. And a new one. No close below. No close. And there's the close. With this close below the highest green candle, we just created a new higher high. It's this high over here. Let's extend this line. This line is not going to this point because this was no valid higher high. So we draw this line from the last higher low to this higher high. And with this move over here, we already retraced into this area. So this area is not magnetic anymore. So we don't really expect price to retrace into here. Price is closing below the shift line for a shift into a downtrend, or we see a close above the last higher high for a break to the upside. Let's remove this line. And there it is. No, it's just a wick. There's the close. So you can see that There was no reason for price to come back to this area because this area already had retracement and was not magnetic anymore. We also didn't reach this area because this was no valid retracement. And all we did was just closing above and creating a new higher low. So the higher low is the lowest point over here. And we can draw this line from the higher high to the higher low. Move the shift line to the last higher low, this one. And we saw that this retracement was a valid retracement, and with this valid retracement we also created a new magnetic retracement area. This one is valid, so it's green. So now we want to see a valid retracement back into this green area and create a new higher high. And to be valid, we look at the highest green candle. So this is the highest green candle right now. So we need a red candle closing below this candle. This was the break. Now this is the highest green candle. So we move it up a little bit. A new one. So all we do is just follow candle by candle. Another one. This looks like a close below. No, it's not. No, it's closing exactly at the low of the candle. And this one is closing below the highest green candle. So that means we have a new higher high. I will draw this line from the higher low to this new higher high. Let's remove this line and place the break line. Break to the upside for a continuation of the uptrend, or a close below the shift line for a shift into a downtrend. This is the retracement area. It's still fully magnetic, so we expect price to come down, retrace into this area, and turn around to continue the uptrend. It's wicking above the break line but not closing. Still no close. You can see this is a red candle, so it's opening above the line but closing below the line. And this is our close above the line. So we know that this retracement was a valid retracement from this higher high, and this becomes the new higher low. We didn't reach the retracement area, so this one stays magnetic. We can move the shift line to the new higher low. So with this close above, we also created a new magnetic retracement area from this higher high with the body close above to the last higher low. So like this. Now I like to fast forward it and show you how price is reacting to these levels. So we have this retracement area that is not valid, and we have some retracement areas that are still magnetic. Let's see what price is doing. Price was coming down back into the magnetic area. Let's continue. So with this retracement, this area was not magnetic anymore. Price came down. It didn't really react to this area. It came down to the next magnetic area, this one over here, and we see a reaction. But right now it's not magnetic anymore. Let's continue. So we still have this area. This is already a few days later. Looks like price is going up and leaving without us or without filling these areas. There it is. We had this area that was still magnetic. We had this kind of fake area. It was not a valid retracement area. And you can see that price retraced into this area, price retraced into this area. Then it came down again and it just completely skipped this invalidated area. Price came down with a long wick all the way to almost perfectly the 50% of this area that was still magnetic.